David Samuels, a.k.a. Diz, and this is The Force Always. Okay, so welcome to the show. This is The Force Always, coming from the most unusual location, only because I am in the midst of moving, coming towards the end, but I'm in a moving van. It looks like I'm on a stakeout or something like this, but I'm not. Moving is a whole lot of fun. But anyway, so this is why I'm coming from the moving van, because I'm still moving and nothing is really set up in the new place, and obviously in the old place it is dismantled. Anyway, let's get on with this Star Wars news. Later on the show, I'll give you my review to the Batch episode. It's episode 8 called Reunion. Later in the show, in the reaction section of The Force Awakens, so stick around for that one. So we've also, anyway, that is part of the news. So on Disney Plus, it actually dropped here in Melbourne, Australia at 6 p.m. rather than 7 p.m. on the Friday night. The Batch, which is on Disney Plus, the streaming service that is, and it's pretty much every Friday, just to sort of add to a bit of a scheduling sort of thing with the whole Disney Plus thing. I noticed that Loki, if you're into Loki, the second episode actually still appeared to come out on the Wednesday. So I think Wednesday is the new Friday, which is sort of promoting on a visual at Disney Plus, a bit of a graphic design. I think they're going to really push towards doing that. Marvel stuff maybe come out Wednesdays and Star Wars stuff come out on Fridays. It's my speculation, I don't know. But anyway, so if you're into Loki, if you're into the Marvel thing at the moment, stick around on Wednesdays. If you're into Star Wars, stick around on the Fridays. Anyway, so to more news. Speaking of Disney Plus, there is a new TV series called Visions, which will be coming out later this year. That's right, later this year. It's basically animated versions of Star Wars, whether it's been scenes we've seen before or brand new storylines that will be introduced to canon. I'm unsure, but Visions will be coming out later this year. But on July the 3rd, technically July the 4th for 4th of July, it's sort of a funny way to put it, here in Melbourne, Australia, there will be a sneak peek at a anime convention coming out. Just check YouTube for this or the internet. You'll probably get you will get a sneak peek behind this Visions. It's called Visions. It's a TV series, and it's coming out later this year. So there will be the sneak peek will be coming out July 3rd in America, but technically July 4th in Melbourne, Australia, because we are in the future. Anyway, so pretty much that's the Star Wars news for this time around. Let's get into Views. Views is my story ideas for anything that's Star Wars, as we've got the Bad Batch on at the moment. Now, there was a little bit of a spoiler to this latest episode 8 Reunion, what I'm about to say in this particular part, and probably a bit later on anyway, in this episode of The Force Always. So if you don't want to hear anything, please tune out. But anyway, the Bad Batch. So my story idea this time around is that in episode 8, we get a glimpse to the character. The character was probably a fan favorite, Cad Bane. Cad Bane is back in, and boy, he looked good. I'm not into the cowboy-looking hat sort of thing within the Star Wars universe. I think it's a little bit earthly, but it still works. But Cad Bane. Now, He is obviously working for someone. He's a bounty hunter. He's working for someone. This definitely has got to be an obvious lead into, and probably a story idea that I would a story idea that I would love to see fruition is Cad Bane working with Boba Fett. I think that would be two different types of legends working with each other as bounty hunters, sort of conquering the universe in their sort of ways. But being the Bad Batch would be, way before the full age of Boba Fett as we knew him in Return of the Jedi. It will be definitely a young version, but anyway, I think a connecting idea to the whole story would be good. It would be good having Boba Fett and Cad Bane be a part of each other. That would be great. Anyway, so that's my story idea this time around. Let's get into the reviews. Reviews this time around will be The Bad Batch Episode 8, and that is called Reunion. Reunion may reflect on the actual character I just mentioned, Cad Bane, the reunion of us seeing him again. It could be just how the storyline goes. This particular episode, it was, visually again, sound-wise again, it's just amazing. Absolute amazing. The story was good. It was a bit of saddle, but straight off the bat, I'm going to give this particular episode a 7.5 out of 10. That's right, 7.5 out of 10. It was very good. I wouldn't say I was as excited from last week, but it's really working. It's still got a good feel. It's losing the front and center, I think, a little. This type of series, it just needs a front and center, something to be shooting for or shooting from. Even though they are sort of, a group of rebellious stormtroopers on the go, and there's that sort of aspect, it just needs something a bit more, a bit more significant. But anyway, it was more of a thriller type episode. It was a more subtle episode. It was more really the introduction of Cad Bane, the reintroduction of Cad Bane, and so that's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. How many more episodes? I can't tell you how many, but it's we're into episode 8, which is for a Star Wars fan, great. Even though it's been pretty subtle, it's still great. Anyway, so that's my review for this time around. So let's now get into the interviews. Interviews is 2 questions where I ask myself, for you guys out there. First question is, and relating to the Bad Batch, was it a good idea to reintroduce Cad Bane? Look, as I've touched on a bit before, I think it's a great idea. I think he's a character that is definitely looks good. Cowboy hat does work for the character. It's just a bit earthly to myself, but I think it's a great idea. I know it's sort of like one of these things where Star Wars tends to lend itself to things that people have seen before and know, but I think that's just, that's life, that's storytelling, you've got to do these type of things for people to get what you're doing. But he's a character definitely worthy of reintroduction. So I think, definitely it's a good idea. Okay, so the second question this week is again on the Bad Batch. Again, it's sort of touching on a question I did ask before, but I think it's important to really get this. I think, especially from my perspective, and maybe you guys out there will agree, I don't know, but the Bad Batch, where is it going wrong? I think there's, I just think the front and center of an evil villain is not being really, concentrated on. Every good versus bad type of thing story. It doesn't need always a front and center villain, but I think in this particular series it sort of does, as it's a group of elite stormtroopers that are rebellious to the Empire, and it really just needs that more sort of, looming character that is meant to be, just chasing them down and have a lot more development, which is obviously Tarkin, Governor Tarkin, in this, but it's been a bit lost. I think they're just losing the front and center to this whole series, but the series is subtly good besides the front and center. That's where I think they're going wrong. Anyway, so that's my interviews to you for this time around. Now, that is The Force Awakens this time around, coming from a moving van, can you believe it? But yes, I'm here on a weekly basis with the news, views, reviews, and interviews. And you can contact me via Instagram or even Twitter or even via the YouTube message if you like. And until next week, my friends, hopefully from a more set up studio, keep rocking.